Go to, let me do a new file here. Let's just really quick lay out our E minor diatonic chord progression. Oops. Okay, now there's no shame in doing that. If you say, okay, I'm in E minor, I want to just write out all my possible chords, that's totally okay. Don't be afraid to do that. And just use this as a reference when we're looking at the piece. So we're right here. D, F, A. Now let's look at our chord progression. Here's D, F, sharp, A. D, F, sharp, A. And that is 7. That's a major 7. And that's okay in the minor key. That's perfectly allowed. So we're going to call that 7, capital 7. Right here, D, F, A, still capital 7. That's totally okay. Back to here, C, E, G. Okay, so C, E, G. Let's look at our chart here. Here's a C, E, G. What is that? That is a major 6. And that is also totally okay. So we're going to call that a major 6. But we have a little wrinkle here because we have a note out of key right there. So let's make sure this chord is still a major 6, which it is. That's still a C major. Now D sharp does not occur in C major, nor does it occur in E minor. So how do we explain that D sharp? Well, we kind of just talked about this in the previous section, right? We can easily explain that by saying it's drawn from the harmonic minor scale, because in E minor, the harmonic minor is going to have a raised 7th, which would be D sharp. D sharp is going to be the 7th scale degree. Now remember, we're not talking about chords here. We're talking about scale degrees. So a raised leading tone is what's going to happen. So that would be just the pitch, D, and we're going to raise it to a D sharp heading towards that E. So we can explain that with the harmonic minor. We don't need to really do anything different with our analysis here because we're going to call that a non-chord tone. Now non-chord tones, if you remember, we looked at those in some detail in the last class. We're going to look at those again in an upcoming class in more detail, but we introduced those in the last class, and they just mean a note in the melody that is not in the chord. And they happen a lot. They happen all over the place. We've seen a few of them already. Let's look at right here. Here's our 1 chord, E, G, and B. And this note, C, is not in that chord, and that's okay. It's a non-chord tone. So we don't need to worry about it too much. Okay, so we're going to attribute this D sharp to the harmonic minor. That's totally okay. Now let's go here. We have a B, D sharp, and F sharp. We have another out of key note. B, D sharp, and F sharp. So let's go look at our key here. Here's B, D, and F sharp, but they've raised the D. And once again, we know how to explain this because we just looked at it. We would explain this with the melodic minor. Okay, so what we would do in the analysis, so first of all, the melodic minor, quick refresher, means we're raising the 6th and 7th tone, scale degree, of the scale. And that is going to be C sharp and D sharp, these 2 notes, because they're right here also.